Radical in cotton, purified in my satin. But the balm of the season is a velvet revolution.
What would Lenin, the father of world communism, think, seeing the movement he inspired begin to crumble from within? What would Joseph Stalin do if he were to see his Iron Curtain across Europe torn down? And what will it mean for their successors if Poland forms a non-communist government?
This is the end of the communist system in Europe. It's 100% certain. I'm positive about it.
Eastern Europe, once a solid bloc controlled by Moscow. Today, it's more like a jigsaw puzzle where the pieces come from 3 different boxes. There are Hungary and Poland on the verge of forming multi-party systems. Czechoslovakia and East Germany, where dissent surfaces despite government attempts to keep it down. Only in Romania and Bulgaria, still living in the twilight of Stalinism, is there no significant dissent at all.
I think we are moving towards something that's never been seen before. That is to say, we've seen transitions from authoritarian right-wing regimes to liberal democracies. We've never seen such a transition take place in a communist system.
The question is, how far will it go? Will the ever-increasing flow of refugees from East Germany prompt that government to relax its grip? And what about Czechoslovakia? Will the roots of Prague Spring 1968 send up new shoots? Or will they be stomped down, as they have been this week?
In Czechoslovakia, in the short run, I think we can expect repression, and in the long run, I think that the regime cannot last, and we are going to see a reformist communist regime emerge in Czechoslovakia in the next 5 years.
Soviet President Gorbachev, who has his own troubles in places like the Baltics, has said Eastern Bloc allies are free to plan their own systems, as long as they remain loyal to the Warsaw Military Alliance. His opponents fear this will only encourage more dissent, disagreements among countries of Eastern Europe, and weaken Moscow's control of the alliance.
This policy does have risks for Mr. Gorbachev because his hardline opponents can say, look what you've done. This demonstrates that as soon as you relax the brakes, the system becomes unmanageable.
But the system, many say, was already unmanageable, unable to provide basic necessities.
I think that this has to be seen as a crisis of the whole
now
communist...
the focus is on Czechoslovakia. Now hundreds of thousands of Czechoslovaks are in the streets.
They packed into Wenceslas Square. They jammed the side streets, and they were not just students and intellectuals. There were workers, too, and in large numbers. And in case the Communist Party and its government did not get the message from the mere sight of this many people, they drove it home with their chants. Resign, resign, they demanded. This protest movement may now be reaching a critical moment. A special session of the ruling Central Committee of the Communist Party meets tomorrow. It is empowered to make changes in the leadership. The most likely scapegoat is Miloš Jakeš, the party's general secretary. But the opposition group, the Civic Forum, wants at least 5 other Politburo members out. And the demonstrators are determined to throw them out, as they sang in their own version of a familiar American protest song.
Czechoslovakia's leading dissident told the crowds in Wenceslas Square today, "We will never return to the old system of totalitarian rule." Václav Havel is a playwright who has emerged as the central figure in the reform movement.
After years of struggle against the communist state, years of harassment, arrest, and imprisonment, Havel now believes they may be on the verge of victory. But the situation is still dangerous and unpredictable, Havel says. The protest movement is now too big to be controlled. Havel says the protest movement will settle for nothing less than the resignation of the hardline leadership of the communist government.
Czechoslovakia today became the latest of the countries of Eastern Europe, once held so tightly in the Soviet grip, to throw off its hardline communist yoke. Bowing to pressure from the growing pro-democracy demonstrations throughout the country, Communist Party boss Miloš Jakeš and all the other members of the Czech Communist Politburo resigned.
It was victory. It was perhaps only one battle in a nonviolent war of liberation, but it was victory nonetheless, and they celebrated. The main opposition, the Civic Forum, got the word while holding a news conference. They popped open some champagne and toasted the news.
Long live free Czechoslovakia!
It was true people power that toppled the hardline communist leaders here, and it was surprisingly swift and easy. 5 days of demonstrations involving several 100,000 people in Wenceslas Square. And it was fitting that while the party leaders were deciding what to do, tonight's featured speaker at the demonstration was Alexander Dubček, whose own reform movement 21 years ago had been brutally crushed by Soviet-led tanks. Dubček na hrad, they chanted, Dubček to the castle. Prague Castle is the residence of the president. Now an aging, nostalgic symbol, Dubček from the balcony embraced the crowd. Despite today's astonishing events, the ouster of their hardline communist leaders, you could see as they sang the national anthem, the people realize there's still a long way to go.
So much has happened so fast here in Czechoslovakia. The assault on communist authority here has been much more sudden than it was in Hungary or Poland or in East Germany, and least expected. It is often said of Czechoslovaks that they are not easily stirred out of their complacency. After 40 years, the students here have done it in 10 days. Today, in the drive for democracy, the students are the shock troops. 20 years ago, their parents believed that the Communist Party could reform itself, and they were bullied into submission. Today, the young want an end to communist rule altogether. At every demonstration, the majority is always young. Here it was the ringing of the keys. Thousands of Czechoslovaks shaking their house keys. Their way of telling the Communist Party, the bell tolls for you. The sudden appearance of so many flags. In America, we fly the flag everywhere, but here, and it's the same in Hungary and Poland, the national colors are a symbol of defiance to communist rule. After all, the flag was here first. In Czechoslovakia these days, everyone on the right side of history is wearing a dash of their red, white, and blue.
Feeling radical and cotton purified in my satin, but the balm of the season is a velvet revolution.